This week, The Insider reports on the government accreditation of the Northern Ireland Alternatives organisation. Formed in the Shankill area in 1995, the organisation offers restorative justice to loyalist communities in various parts of the province.
Well, the organisation started in March 1996 when we were approached and we being Woodville Resource organisation that I worked on, a community development organisation, were asked, is there a possibility of coming up with something that could maybe stop the punishment violence in the area for those young people involved in antisocial behaviour. I got the short straw for that to try a 6-month piece of research, and that research stretched over the 6 months. In fact, it was closer to 20 months. And that was because of the complex nature of the issues that we were dealing with. Getting the idea across to the wider community was easy, but it was labour intensive. It took a long time to get round all the different agencies, all the different organisations and individuals that we thought needed to be spoken to. That developed through speaking to the police, speaking to young people that was involved in antisocial behaviour, young people that was on the end of punishment violence, paramilitaries who were carrying out punishment violence on behalf of the community, who felt that there was nowhere else to go, only through them. So putting that all of that together, we spoke to everyone who we thought could bring something to the table. And that ranged, I suppose, the organisations that I've mentioned, plus the likes of probation, social services, the education boards, anybody that was dealing with young people. We brought them all around a table at various stages, talked to them about the issues that we thought needed to be addressed and how best we could do that. At that time, we were approached by an organisation called NIACRO, who were acting on behalf of a private donor. And the NIACRO says that this piece of research, there's a possibility that something could come at the end of this if a programme could be developed. The police were, I suppose, very supportive at the beginning. The community weren't so supportive of the police because they thought the police was more interested in larger scale crime, and I suppose rightly so, than what they were through antisocial behaviour. But antisocial behaviour was at the top of the list of the community. It maybe was near the bottom of the list for the police at that time. So it was a bit of a learning experience about bringing the police and the community together to hear the problems that each were facing. And during that period, we come up with the idea of how could we really engage with the community to stop this. We had an idea about restorative justice at that time, but it wasn't until roughly about 9 months into the research that we interviewed a girl called Debbie Waters, who's now the training manager here in Northern Ireland Alternatives. And unbeknown to us, Debbie worked for 5 years in a restorative justice programme in America, telling us that we were using restorative principles to try to come up with an alternative to punishment violence. And I've said this story on many occasions since then. We thought we were doing something that no one else had ever tried before. And lo and behold, this restorative justice is a centuries-old concept. And Debbie was able to give us a title for something and able to develop the processes that we were going through. And we are today, I suppose, because of Debbie's influence and expertise in restorative justice.
I think antisocial behaviour and crime anywhere is very similar issues no matter what country you go to. The difference with Northern Ireland was restorative justice became so politicised here because it was connected or perceived as being connected with paramilitary organisations. So that we had that added complication here to deal with. So doing restorative justice in America in a community setting was difficult enough. And it was difficult in Northern Ireland, but added into that pot was the whole issue of how we were perceived by the NIO, by politicians, and that there was this agenda really that we were dirty people doing the dirty work. Whereas we always said from day one, to resolve the issue of punishment beatings, you have to talk to the men of violence who are involved in it. And now we're at a very different stage in Northern Ireland. We have former paramilitaries, ex-combatants, ex-prisoners running the country. So things have moved on considerably, but 10 years ago it was a different scenario.
Now that we have moved on in that way and punishment beatings are a thing of the past, Where does that place the organisation? What is your role now?
Part of our role has always been the wider process of conflict transformation, and I think we'll continue to be a part of that, at whatever level we want to bring the principles and practices of restorative justice to that process. So we'll continue to do that. But as well as that, restorative justice still has a lot to offer at a community level, because it's about empowering local people to solve local problems. It doesn't just work where there's the presence of paramilitaries, and the American experience, the New Zealand experience, the Australian experience demonstrates that. So I think now we can work very much in partnership with the formal criminal justice system, be complementary to the formal criminal justice system, and enhance their work by empowering local people to become involved in non-punitive ways to deal with antisocial behaviour. And part of the reality still in Northern Ireland, as you know, is that a lot of people still want violent responses to crime. They still want punitive responses, and we're saying, and a big aspect of our work is with the community and with paramilitaries, and saying that just does not work. I mean, my experience in America is that America has the highest incarceration rate in the world. So if punitive measures worked, America wouldn't still be the most violent nation in the world, and it is. So punitive doesn't necessarily solve the problem, especially with low-level, mid-level offenders. It's just not the way forward. So that is the piece of work I think we still need to be involved in Belfast and in Northern Ireland. And as well as that, our restorative justice response at a community level is a wraparound service. We don't only work with the young people and the victims, we work with the families. We work with the wider community, we work with the schools, we work with anyone that's a key stakeholder. And that's quite different from how the formal criminal justice system does restorative justice here. So we really can help complement each other's work.